Hello everybody, so today I want to quickly look at the ray node, and the ray node is basically used for projecting geometry or points onto a different surface. Let's quickly show you how that works. This is the very basics of it, so you get an idea of the different options that are in there. So let's start with, I think, a grid. Let's do that. Alright. And I'm going to make this, I think, a little bit smaller. Let's have that 2 by 2 meters. Let's have more geometry. All right. Okay, that looks good. And I want to also add a sphere. And in this sphere, I will, okay, I'll just template that. Let's make that a polygon, and we'll add a bit more resolution to that too. Alright, and I think what I will do now, let me think, I will add transform, I think, to both of them. Let's do the same thing here. Alright, and I'm going to move this sphere up maybe 1.2, yeah? Alright, maybe just 1, doesn't need to go up that. Alright, good. Now, what I want to do is project the geometry from this grid here onto the surface of this sphere, and I can do this using the ray node. So let's look for ray, and what I need to first of all know is what I want to project will go in the first input, all right, and what I'm projecting onto goes in the second input, and there we go, it's already projected. So we can see that the points which are pointing upwards are now projecting onto that surface. Now, why upwards? And the reason is because it will go in the direction of the normals. So if I put on my normals here, I can see that I haven't actually made any normals, but these normals are already created automatically on the vertex. I can also use point normals, which I will show you here. So let's just create a normal node and create a point. There we go. Same difference, right? Same thing happens. So let's turn this off a moment, and now I'm going to use let's turn that off. I'm going to use my grid, and I want to move this. Let's click this here, and there we go. I can see that where I move the position of this will change the surface. Now notice when I go above this part here, nothing happens, disappears. And the reason is because our normals are pointing up, not down. If they were pointing down, we would get a different result. Okay, maybe I can reverse these normals. Actually, let's see, there we go, reverse normals. Okay, and now I can see that I'm now projecting onto the surface. Now the normals are kind of inverted here and inside out, but it's irrelevant for now. You can see how this will work, right? Okay, so let me go back. I want to not have those reverse normals, and I'm going to move this back down. I can also, of course, rotate this around, gets the same result. There are two options that I have here too, so let me go right down here. Okay, and you can see that only some of the points and some of the primitives have moved into this sphere area here. There is a way that I can get all of these to move into their closest position on the sphere, so all of the grid primitives will move onto the sphere, and the way to do that is to select the ray node, and here we've got method. One is project rays, which goes in the direction of the normals. The minimum distance, there we go, everything has now moved onto the surface, and that doesn't take into account the normals. So now if I move this, I can see that even when I go above it, I'm still getting that projection happening. Okay, that's kind of cool. All right. Now there's one more thing I want to quickly look at, and that is if I decide that I want to use points instead. So here I've used primitives, and I can see that I have this these primitive surface that's appeared on there, but let's just say I have points instead. Okay, so what I can do here, let's do this first, is create a scatter, and there we go. And here I've got a scatter of say 1,000 points. Alright, maybe I'll lower that a little bit, maybe to say 400 points. Okay, and I'm going to go to my ray node. Let's go back to the project rays, and this time I want to just shoot them rays up onto the sphere. So let's look at that, and it's not done it. The grid has moved. Let me see if there's nothing changed there. Okay, so what's going on here? Why didn't they project? They should go in the direction of the normals. Let's check my normals. And oh, I've turned on the normals and there isn't any. Reason being that if I look in my hierarchy here, I have grid, then I make the scatter, then I do the transform, then I'm adding the normals. And the normals are not being added. I need to instead make my scatter after the normals. Let's try this. And now I can see I have my normals. So the position here matters in where I'm placing my normals node. Now I hope if I turn these off that these points will go onto the surface of the sphere. And yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. That's cool, right? So I've now got those points all over that. Now let's say I also want to try my minimum method. So I want to move all the points into the sphere. And there we go. Beauty. Alright. Again, going to my transform. And let's move this around a little bit. So let's change its rotation. I can also change its position. And you can see everything is kind of matching. I can add more points to that, of course. Let's go a bit higher, maybe not that many. Around 1,000. Alright. And back to my transform. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's cool. Alright, so you can see already that there's a possibility of how to use these, especially if I'm creating some kind of abstract effects. But let's look in the next lesson or two at some options that we have in basic ideas of how I would maybe use these if I'm modeling or if I'm trying to create some effect. So anyway, you guys have a great day, behave yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.